or Zoom recording so that those that could not be here with us today will be able to see this at a later time. Okay. All right, so just kind of one thing I want y'all to kind of keep in mind when we're going through this Zoom meeting and all the other Zoom meetings that we may unfortunately probably have in the future. If you have any questions, please write them down on a piece of paper or make a mental note. And then once I ask for you, if you could just type in your questions on the chat box then. I am kind of OCD with a lot of things. So when I start seeing a bunch of chat questions come up, I feel like I have to answer those right then and there. And then I lose train of thought with the slide that I am currently on. So if you could just hold your questions, you will have tons of them, I promise. And that is one thing I am for certain about. So if you would just hold off until I ask for them, and then you may type them or unmute if you need to, okay? All right, so today's meeting, there's two very simple purposes that I want us to review for this meeting. The first one is to inform you. I believe it is my responsibility and my role as your principal to properly inform all of our staff members with accurate information. We live in an age that social media and news media, they are all, stirring things around. So I think it's very important that I provide you accurate information. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. The other thing is I want to be able to chunk our information. So as you'll see today, what you probably already know and have heard, things are definitely changing. And I want to be aware of all of you and all of the things that you all have going on personally and professionally. So I'm going to try to provide chunks of information for you between now and the beginning of school year. I think it would be unwise of me to give you all of this information at one time. So what I plan on doing is for every week between now and the start of school is having a Zoom meeting, so I can give you the next chunk of information. Then you can digest, think about that, reflect, and then we can come back the next week and you can ask questions, and then I can provide you the next chunk of information. So that's really important, I think, to be able to give you all of that throughout the next few weeks is very, very important. I also want to provide support for you all. I want you to know that all of the leadership team, we are here to support you, Miss Mayberry, and then the instructional coaches, we are here to support you. We have been working over the summer to figure out how we can best support each and every one of you. You're all at different places in the career pathway, so we want to make sure that we are helping you along this way. And we also just want to start some discussions, some things that we can kind of start talking about. I think it's important for us to start that now. Okay. All right. So on today's agenda, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to welcome some new staff. There are some new staff that are on this Zoom meeting right now. What I want to do is have a more formal welcome once we are able to, but I do want to recognize those new individuals now so that we can kind of start learning some names and some faces. Next thing I want us to do is reflect on Governor Cooper's decision. I know you all have heard about the decision, but I just want us to talk about how schools are affected with that. And then we're going to talk about our Pitt County Schools learning options and what does it mean for us as a school, as a staff member at Pactolus. So, as you can see up here, we would like to welcome some of our newest staff members. Now, I will say this list looks pretty long, and I will say this COVID-19 has definitely affected a lot of schools. We have lots of new faces here, and we are very, very excited about each and every one of these individuals as they bring with them an arsenal of information that will definitely change and revigorate our ways of thinking here at Pactolus. So starting off, Miss Harris, she is going to be in first grade. She is transferring from Belleville Elementary right down the road. Miss Harris actually has been a dual language teacher at Belvoir for some time now. So we are excited about what she can bring to the table as far as the dual language and just her wealth of knowledge. Miss Brown, we are also getting from Belvoir. She did second grade at Belvoir. She as well did dual language at Belvoir. So she understands the complexity and all that is needed for dual language. So we're excited about having those two individuals join our K through 2 grade levels. Miss Pilgrim, Miss Heather Pilgrim will be joining second grade as well. Miss Pilgrim has been in Pitt County Schools before. She has some children that go to Pitt County Schools. So she has got some great experience as a reading recovery teacher and knowing the complexity that is involved with reading in the younger grade levels. So we're very, very excited about having her join us. Miss Brittany Woodle is transferring from Star Elementary in North Carolina. She will be our 5th grade science and social studies. She has done science and social studies this past school year. So we are excited about her knowledge and her experience looking at those 2 subjects and what she can bring to the table for 5th grade. Some of y'all may remember Miss Gabby Laser. She was our she's going to be our 5th grade math teacher. She actually did her internship with Miss Reddington in 4th grade. So we were very impressed with what Miss Laser was able to do this year. We saw that in PLCs and in the classroom, so we had to snag her up. The next one is Miss Shelby Buterball, and she will be our 7th grade math teacher. Miss Buterball has got some experience in high school. She is originally from Eastern North Carolina, from Wilmington, but she has taught in Wilmington and in Virginia, as you can see there. So she's got some high school experience as far as math. So we're excited about what she can bring to that area as well. Mr. John Phillips, he will be our 7th grade science and social studies teacher. He is transferring from Brooks Global School. We were very fortunate to find somebody from another part of the state that has some global experience as well. So he has been working at Brooks Global School for a good amount of time, and and during that time he has been on the global committee at Brooks Global School. So we are excited about all the experience and the knowledge that he brings with that as we are transitioning to becoming a global school as well. Miss Patricia Patterson will be our new art teacher. She is coming to us from South Greenville. She has got some experience both at Welcome, so she is familiar with north of the river. For our new folks, some of our new folks know this, but Pactolus and a few other schools are considered north of the river being the Tar River. So we are very cultish up here in north of the river. So Miss Patterson does have some experience at Welcome and in South Greenville as well. So both the elementary and middle school experience will definitely help her at a K-8 school. Miss Brimage will be our new CTE teacher. She has got some experience at A.G. Cox doing a number of different roles. This past school year, she was also a CTE teacher. And then this past semester, actually in the spring. So she was thrown right into the mix of being a first-year teacher and COVID at the same time. So excited about her. Miss Rebecca Neese, she is transferring from Elmhurst. She will be our new ESL teacher. From what I have heard, Miss Neese has kind of been a jack of all trades. She has done some interventionist. I think she maybe has some experience with the one-on-one reading recovery or maybe care. She's done everything from lead mentor. So I know Miss Burt, the principal at Elmhurst, was very, very sad to see her go. We're excited to have Miss Rose Garcia. She will be our new pre-K teacher. She has been in Pitt County Schools before, and she will be returning back to us. And last but not least, we will have Miss Courtney Dubis. She will play a role as instructional coach and also our global schools coordinator. So yes, you are correct. We will have 3 instructional coaches. And Miss Dubus will also be playing the role as our global school coordinator. So she is transferring from Belvoir. So we're sorry, Belvoir. But Miss Dubus actually was a vital part to creating the dual language and global schools at Belvoir. She was there at its inception and has been there ever since, from making pacing guides and assessments and all those good things. So we were very, very lucky to snag her up as well. And we're very excited about what she will bring to the table, not only as an instructional coach, but also as dual language and the global schools coordinator. So if any of our new people, if you would like to unmute yourself or anything like that, feel free to say anything or chat and put anything in the chat box. I'm not going to put you on the spot, but if there's anything you would like to say, feel free to.
Good morning, this is Miss Dubus. I am excited to see a lot of new faces and look forward to working with everybody, whether it's virtual or face-to-face.
Thank you, Ms. Dubus.
Hi, everyone. This is Mr. Phillips, and I'm looking forward to working with everybody, hopefully helping y'all transition to a global school. And as soon as we get everything packed up, we are leaving Saturday morning, heading to Greenville.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. All right, great. So we're going to continue right along. All right, so before I get into the thick of things and the things that will probably make us a little uncomfortable, what I want us to do is to keep this in mind, okay? When you're talking about reopening schools, everyone feels very passionate right now about schools reopening. There are some people that are very passionate about schools need to reopen for the benefit of our students. There are some people that are very passionate that we should look at other options as far as virtual is concerned. And then there are those individuals that are in between, that they definitely want to see their students. They understand that, but fearful at the same time. And here's what I want you to all understand, that you are perfectly fine feeling any one of those ways. As your principal, as the leader, I want you to be comfortable, and I want you to know that whatever feelings that you are feeling right now, it is okay. Nobody is going to tell you that you're right. Nobody's going to tell you you are wrong, because we are not really sure what is right or wrong right now. I have given strict instructions to the leadership team, our office staff, that this school year we're going to look a little bit different. We need to have that understanding, empathetic hat on this year. And what I'm asking you all to do is the same thing. Whether you feel passionate about schools reopening or schools going 100% virtual, we are unfortunately dealt with the hand that we're dealt with, and we've got to make the best of it. So I ask of you all, if you would just to be mindful and empathetic to one another. We all have different feelings, and that is okay. I am telling you right now that it is okay. I won't tell you my passionate feelings because I don't want to get into that, but we all have those feelings, and it is perfectly fine to do that. What I do ask of you, though, is if you feel comfortable enough, is please share those feelings with me. I know sometimes we don't want to show our vulnerability with others, especially somebody that may be evaluating you. But I want you to all understand that I need to know things. I need to be aware of your feelings, because there's some things that we're going to have to do this upcoming year, and I just need to be able to take all those things into account. So once again, just to recap, you're perfectly fine feeling the way that you feel, and nobody should tell you otherwise. But we will need to remain together as a community. That's something that is very, very important. There's going to be some stressful times this year, whether we are face-to-face or whether we are remote. And we are all need to be aware of those stressful times and just make sure that we are empathetic to everyone. Because once we start turning on one another, that will never be a good situation. And of course, it will be counterproductive. Okay, so just keep that in mind going into this new school year. Okay. All right. So most of you all know this already, but I'm just going to recap. Like I said, I think it's very important to inform and educate the staff members here at Pactolis. And some of us are currently living outside the state, so I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. So last week, Governor Cooper came up with his decision on what schools will do for this upcoming school year. There was a Plan A where we would re-enter school with very little social distancing, very small amount of changes. Plan B was moderate, a little bit more extensive social distancing requirements, and then of course Plan C, which was 100% virtual. So last week, and this graphic will kind of explain it a little bit better. I stole this from Guilford County, so Mr. Phillips would probably appreciate that. He has seen this, I'm sure, plenty of times already. But these were the plans that were set forth, as most of you already know. And most of you already know as well that our governor went with the Plan B. Moderate social distancing, where more restrictions for social distancing, reduced density, and will be required for us to reevaluate things as we go along. Okay, so this was the plan that was set forth last week. Now, a few things to keep in mind here. Now, districts do have a say when it comes to implementing their plan, and you have all seen this kind of start to pop up in the media. So going back to this slide right here, this was the governor's plan, but he said schools could reopening by being more restrictive, and of course that meaning Plan C. So if you've been paying attention to neighboring counties or bigger counties such as Wake and Charlotte, Mecklenburg, you're seeing that certain districts are doing things different, and that's just because the governor said, hey, Plan B is the option, but you can by all means be more restrictive when it comes to creating your plan for the new school year. Whether we reopen, whether we stay virtual, there's going to be some impacts on public schools. There are going to be some short-term, there's going to be some long-term, positive and negative. And you all know, being educators and being in school systems, you know what these short-term and long-term positive and negative impacts are. One thing that we have to keep in mind a lot is that we are starting to lose students to private schools. Private schools don't fit underneath necessarily the same umbrella or the same restrictions. So we don't necessarily have that issue here, but a lot of other schools in Pitt County are already losing students to private schools or homeschool and things like that. So that's just, very briefly how it can start to affect public schools. One thing I do want us to keep in mind is that without a shadow of a doubt, whatever we look like come August, September, everything will be different. Business will not be as normal as it was in February and March. So I want us to go ahead and adopt that mindset that business will not be as normal. We're gonna have to change. Don't worry though, because your leadership team here at Pactolis, we have been working around the clock in order to go ahead and start planning those things, okay? And the other thing to keep in mind here is that things are always changing, as y'all know. Today, what I go over with y'all, unfortunately, may change by next week when I have the next meeting with y'all. So it's just kind of the virus. It has a mind of its own and how it affects populations. So that's just something that we have to keep in mind. So what I'm going to get in today, there's a ton of questions that you're going to have, and I'm not going to go through all those things yet, because I know number one question that most everyone has is, what will the day look like? How will I be affected? And to be honest with you and 100% transparent, I don't know all those answers yet. As a district, we don't know yet as well. We're working through some things, trying to come up with some answers. So there's a lot of questions that you're going to have that's going to say, hey, what will arrival look like? What will dismissal look like? What will my day look like? Those are all great questions. I just ask that you keep those to yourself, because we'll answer those questions, I promise, before students come in, before you come in. But I just don't have all those answers right now. Okay. Are there any questions before going any farther? All right. If you do have any questions, continue typing. I'm going to continue on. All right. So this past Monday, our school board came together and they voted 8-1 for Plan B. And just to recap, Plan B is for us to return back to school face to face in a blended model. A blended model meaning part face to face, part virtual. So that's just a recap of what was decided on. Once again, everybody has passionate feelings to this, whether you agree or disagree. But let's just keep in mind that we're all in this together, okay? So as soon as Governor Cooper came out with his recommendation of Plan B, North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services came out with these requirements as well. And you've probably seen these circulating around. These will be some things that you'll probably see a lot of. So I just want to kind of hit on these and just make sure that we kind of understand. So the first one up here being face coverings will be required for every teacher, staff, and student, kindergarten through high school. To kind of give you an idea, North Carolina, the state of North Carolina is providing 5 face coverings for every staff member and 5 face coverings for every student. Okay, so that will be a requirement while we are within this building. Of course, the social distancing of 6 feet is, of course, is going to keep up. The symptom screenings, there will be some temperature checks. We are slated to get 1 thermometer per every 100 students. Every 100 students that we have in enrollment. So we have a little over 500. So we should have about 5 thermometers, but we are already in the process of purchasing some more because we know batteries die, something breaks and falls, and all those good things. Schools must create a way to isolate students who have symptoms and ensure that they can get home safely. We have already identified that requirement and have taken care of that one. So there will be some scheduling, hand washing, cleaning, disinfecting classrooms, bathrooms, buses, all those equipments, okay? And then we will, of course, limit our non-essential visitors and activities outside the school building. So these last, well, actually probably all of these, you have lots of questions on how they will affect you as a teacher or as a staff member. Promise you we will go over it, okay? Maybe not today, but I promise you will, okay? All right, so does anybody have any questions as far as the Governor Cooper and the school board decision? Any questions as far as those 2 decisions? I think as a state right now, we are around 20 plus, maybe somewhere 20 to 30 school districts I saw this morning that are deciding to go 100% remote, at least for the first marking period. All right, continuing on. So, just a minute. So Ms. Patterson asked, can we use a face shield rather than a face forming mask? So that is a question that has been coming up a lot, especially amongst principals. And I will give you the timeline of how this kind of all went forth. So when we were talking about this probably a month ago, the dead set answer was definitely a face mask. It had to be a face mask. For those, you've all seen a face shield before. The face shield is great, but it does have a lot of open air that can kind of go back and forth. At the same time, I understand that face masks are very uncomfortable, especially if you're trying to be in them for 5.5 hours and teach. And they get very hot and sweaty. So I think there has been a change of guidance. I do not want to say right now a definite yes, you can or cannot use a face shield. But one thing that I will make sure everybody knows is before school starts is exactly what the requirements are. Ms. Pilgrim said thoughts on masks with clear view of the mouth. That's definitely our county has started purchasing some of those. I'm not so sure if everybody will be able to get some. We know that being able to read lips and seeing our smiles and facial features is something that we've been missing out tremendously. So if you guys some of those or something that you're looking into, that would definitely be something that I think could be beneficial for your students. Are scrubs being considered? That was a question that came up. At this time, the stance is that professional apparel or professional appearance will be still the requirement in schools. But to make you feel a little bit better, we're going to be increasing some jeans days, so don't worry about that. We'll definitely be increasing some jeans days to help everybody out. But yes, did I answer those questions? If not, let me know. Now the county does have some face shields that they will be providing. Those will be for individuals that are working a little bit more closely with students that are doing screenings and whatnot, and also some gloves and gowns and things like that as well. So just to recap, I will give a definite answer on what face shields are allowed and not allowed. Right now, as a county, I think we were just trying to explore and make sure that we knew the correct answer before we said yes or no. All right, so you've probably seen this graphic. This is our Pitt County Schools graphic, Road to Reopening. So you'll see this a lot. So what I want to go through you is the timeline of events that took place from our county and of how things were pushed out. And I want to explain to you why the things were pushed out in the order that they were. So the first thing that came out was this registration form, and I'm going to click on it so that you can see. And for most people were thinking, well, why are we putting the cart before the horse? That was a question that I'm sure a lot of people had. And this registration form seemed like we were putting the cart before the horse because the board hadn't decided. I don't think maybe the governor hadn't decided. But the reason that this was pushed out first is because as a school, we needed to know these answers because the planning that it's taking to do all this stuff is quite intensive. So we needed to go ahead and have this information. So this registration form is completely different than our enrollment form. If you're new to Pitt County Schools as a student, you still had to complete your enrollment form. This registration form was just a form to let the schools know what options or what did you want your child to do, okay? So as you can see here on this registration form, it was just the names of the students and parent guardians, the mailing address, the 911 address if it was different, parent number, all these good things. Now, all this other stuff is pretty, self-explanatory, but I do want to take a moment to explain this neighborhood piece here that some of you may have seen and been questioning. So with us opening under Plan B, we have to reduce the amount of students that we have in the building in order to properly socially distance ourselves. So one of the things that we wanted to know from our families is what neighborhood did they stay in? Because that would help us in determining, because as some of you, and we'll get into this a little bit more in just a moment, but we're looking at an A track, a B track, where half of the students are on an A track, the other half is on a B track. Well, of course, we couldn't go straight down the alphabet and say everybody that's A through L would be on track A, and then M through Z would be on track B, because as we all know, there's lots of our siblings that do not have the same last name. We figured that most siblings would probably want to be on the same track. There are a few that don't. Also, it would be kind of hard to go through a large subdivision such as River Creek here at Pactolus and pick up a few kids and not the other kids. because we all know that they would be trying to run out and trying to get on the bus at the same time. So that's why this neighborhood piece is in here, so that we could kind of group our kids and figure out what way could we provide that cohort A, cohort B schedule. But keeping in mind at the same time that this is definitely something that we have to keep in mind is the equity piece, that when you're starting to look at neighborhoods, you have to be mindful that you don't have all of one race here at school at one time and all of another race at another time. That's just not at all what we're trying to promote. So that's just the reason why that neighborhood piece was in here. Then as you can see down here, there's some more questions about whether they're going to return face-to-face or at home virtual. My transportation plan, that would help us out. And if you have additional children that need to fill that out. Okay, so that's just this has been shared on our school Facebook page and our website. There's a Spanish version as well. And our lovely office staff and Ms. Cobb have been working around the clock to get all 500 plus of our families to respond. And we'll go into those numbers in just a minute, okay? So that's kind of a little bit about our survey. That's the reason why this was pushed out first before we went to explaining things. We kind of held off on explaining what the virtual and face-to-face options would look like. Keeping in mind that families can still change their mind. They can fill it out. They may have filled it out last week, but they can go back and change their mind and fill it out this week too. So that's perfectly fine. We are working with them. They may change it a couple more times between now and then after they get some more information. We're being very aware of that, and we're trying to work with them as best as possible. But when you're trying to get 550 students to respond, that's why we wanted to go ahead and push this out now. Some schools here in the county have 1,700. Trying to get all their students to respond is kind of a large task. So that's why we wanted to go ahead and get that out now to get some responses. Okay. To kind of give you a numbers breakdown, because I think this is important to let y'all know. So like I said, we have roughly anywhere between 500 to 550 students. It's most of the time 530 if you don't include pre-K. Right now, as far as Pactolus is concerned, we are split right down the middle as far as whatever our families are asking. 50% of our families want virtual, 50% want face-to-face. If you look at the north of the river schools, they are all pretty much falling into this same routine, where the rest of the county is pretty much falling into that 70 to 80% of the families want face-to-face, where the remainder wants virtual. So, you know, with us having 50% virtual or wanting that virtual option and 50% wanting face-to-face, that gives us roughly 250 students that we had to plan for face-to-face being here. Well, if you split them up into 2 weeks, an A week and a B week, you're looking at only about 125 students per week at school. If that kind of helps some of y'all put your mind at ease a little bit. We are fortunate in that aspect. On the flip side, though, that means we're going to have to cater a lot to our virtual students, because we're right at 50-50, but we have, it's a little, last time I checked, I think we're right at 54% want virtual. So we're going to have to up our game as far as virtual is concerned. And, but it is nice to know that in any given week, I'll be planning for 125 to 150 students, where there are other schools that may have 700 total students and they have to plan for 500 in order to appropriately socially distance themselves. So that is kind of one silver lining in all of this. If you want to break it down to even more, some of our grade levels right now, you're looking at anywhere from 20 to 30 students wanting to come face to face. So that is just something to think about. All right, so any questions as far as the registration form is concerned? You may have had some questions come up when you saw this promoted on social media or phone calls or anything like that. Any questions as far as our registration form? Um, so Ms. Brinkley said parents who did not respond will get phone calls. Yes. So our biggest task right now, of course, is getting everybody to respond. We want to, of course, try to reach out to them via phone first, but then our next step will be knocking on some doors. So we'll have some help with that. Ms. Lee Bryan will be helping, and then we'll try to all chip in to knock on some doors and figure out exactly what they need. If we can't get a hold of anybody that way, then we're just going to say that they're going to be face-to-face so that we can plan for them. And of course, we can always go to virtual. All right, any other questions as far as registration form? All right, so what I want us to talk about a little bit today, and this is where you are going to have lots of questions on how this will impact you as a teacher or as a staff member. And this kind of goes back to my original statement. I don't have all the answers right now. And that is a hard thing to muster up and say to your staff, but we are working on those answers right now. Don't worry. So what I have here, you will see that the PCS options for learning, this is a link and it actually takes you to a PowerPoint, but our assistant superintendent, Dr. Lassiter of Curriculum Instruction, he put together this video and it was shared yesterday. So I was originally going to go through the slides with y'all and explain it, but I think he does a much better job of articulating what that is, but we'll still go through and try to answer any questions that you may have.
Hi, families. My name is Steve Lassiter, and I currently serve as the Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction for Pitt County Schools. I want to take a moment to share our parent choice options with you beginning this fall 2020. We are excited and anticipate the return of your little ones as well as your older ones, whether it be virtual or in person. So at this time, I want to take a moment and share our options with you. So in response to the number of questions from our families about what does each learning option mean, I want to take a moment to share, first and foremost, our face-to-face option. And that option is our traditional option where students are coming to school each day and they are receiving instruction with their teacher in person. And our scheduled time online learning is our synchronous learning where our students are able to log on at a certain time of the day and interact live with their teacher and receive their instruction. Our anytime online learning are activities that are recorded, whether it was the face-to-face instruction or from the synchronous instruction. Those videos are recorded for you as the working parent. You may be able to go back and log in at any time during the day to access the lessons that's best at the time that's best for you and your family. And our final option is our independent online learning. And these are learning activities that require a bit more flexibility and independent where the parent is really able to provide a tremendous amount of support to the students. To help you as families to determine which model is best for you and your family, we've created a continuum of support ranging from high, moderate to low. Our face-to-face model is a high level of support for those students who are needing more time and interaction with their teachers. Our moderate level of support is our scheduled and our anytime learning models. And we have our independent learning, which requires a low level of support for families who won't require as much teacher interaction. Recently, the governor announced that schools will return under Plan B. Pitt County Schools and staff have created a plan for families to ensure your safety and your understanding of what Plan B looks like for Pitt County Schools. In Plan B, we would follow an A-B week schedule, where Learning Zone A, week students would participate in the learning experience at school, and Learning Zone B week students will participate synchronously or asynchronously, and vice versa. Therefore, in week 1, while Learning Zone A is at school, Learning Zone B is participating in the learning experience synchronously or asynchronously at home, ensuring that they are staying on pace and following the instruction provided by their teacher. To ensure that your child arrives to school during the right week, our district will create a calendar indicating whether your student is in Learning Zone A and Learning Zone B. Because we know that safety is important to our families, We have created a daily check-in process to verify student attendance to ensure that your child has arrived to school on their designated week. The staff member will also inquire about their name and particular information to ensure that that is their approved week. Temperatures will be taken, and we will follow the appropriate safety guidelines and protocols. We have exciting news. Pitt County Schools will go one-to-one with student devices beginning the 2021 school year when your child returns. We are excited to also share that your child will be given an iPad if they're in K2, and they will receive a Chromebook if they are in grades 3 through 12. These devices can be taken home and brought back to school for student learning. We hope this video has been helpful to you in making a decision that's best for your child. We ask that by July 27th, that you complete our district school registration form to indicate your preference for instruction and mode of transportation. This will help us determine your child's appropriate learning zone and transportation in getting your child to and from school safely.
All right, so what I'm going to do now is click on this PowerPoint slide. Now, for the most part, everything that Dr. Lasser just reviewed is in this PowerPoint as well. But there are some things that I'm going to skip over because it's not applicable by now. As you can see, this was July 13th. So this just talks about whether plan A, B, or C. This is when we did not know what the governor was going to say. So as far as these learning options defined, does anybody have any questions about what does it mean from at school face-to-face to scheduled time online, anytime, or independent learning? Does anybody have any questions pertaining to this slide right here? All right, so good questions about as far as recording live. So of course the face-to-face, I feel like everybody pretty much understands that. So this, let me move my chat box up a little bit. So this independent learning over here, what that will include, and I'm going to show you another slide in just a moment that will kind of help with that as well. In fact, let me do it right now because that might be a little bit better. All right, so look at this slide right here. So the face-to-face, of course, that's very easy for us to kind of grasp and understand. The independent online, so if you remember at the beginning, I told you that there's always a fear of losing students to other avenues of education. And keep in mind that every student that we lose, that's $1, not a dollar, but that's money that we lose. So that's something that Pitt County Schools is trying to not have happen. Losing it to private schools, homeschooling, and stuff like that, that hurts us because not only as far as money that we get to spend on students and staff, but also positions. So we're trying to give our families as many options as possible. So this independent learning over here, they will work independently. It will be like modules online. So this will probably cater a little bit more to our homeschool families. So we've tried to convince our couple families that want to do homeschool, like still stay enrolled with us. We can provide you these online modules. There will be some members of the staff that will be monitoring, just depending on how many students we have enrolled for it, but there will be somebody monitoring it. So as you can see here, K5, they will use Accelerate, 612 will use Edgenuity. Okay, we'll still have Pitt County's Virtual Academy and North Carolina Virtual Public Schools as options, but there, of course, space and seats are limited. We use that a lot more so for our Math 1 students since we don't have enough students to make a complete Math 1 classroom. So there will be some online support from the district level to kind of help out with these, but this is kind of more geared to those families that definitely want to do homeschool, but we don't want to lose them on our rosters either. So the scheduled and anytime, so this is where I want us to talk a little bit briefly about this because we have some different options that we can look at here. So each one of our grade levels, and I'm going to be talking just to K4 teachers right now. So 5, 8, if you'll just hold on just a moment. But our K4 teachers, what you are, each one of our K4 grade levels has 3 classrooms, 3 teachers. Without us having such low numbers, as far as students wanting to do virtual or face-to-face, excuse me, it is a very good possibility that we have one teacher that does track A, one teacher that does track B, and then one teacher that does 100% remote. Now, one thing I want to make sure that is very clear that even though students say if they're track A, they're face-to-face one week, the next week they're at home, they're still continuing. It's not like they're just at home doing nothing. So there is still that remote learning that's going to have to take into place. So if you're a teacher and if I gave you both face-to-face and virtual, that would be very overwhelming. Okay, because for the fact you would have to teach face-to-face, you would have to teach students remotely, videotape yourself. That's very, very overwhelming. Now, here's the thing that I have a problem with. I do not want to assign teachers to do certain things because I feel if I say to 3 teachers, I say, hey, you're going to do 100% remote, you're going to do track A, you're going to do track B, I feel like I'm putting more value on somebody say, oh, you know what? You don't have to see kids. You can do remote. So that's going to be a discussion that we'll have a little bit more intense later on. And I'll unfortunately that will be a grade level decision. That will not be a decision that I make. But that's in a perfect world. We all have to look at kind of what each grade level numbers are looking like, how things kind of shake out. Before we can really sit down. Now, 5th through 8th grade, unfortunately, and Encore as well, unfortunately, you're departmentalized. So there's one math teacher, one reading teacher, and so forth. Now, here's the thing that y'all have that's over K4 is that you have either one prep or either 2 preps. So unfortunately, there's not really an option where I can give you 100% remote or 100% face-to-face. So there will be some requirements from 5th through 8th grade teachers that you'll have to do a little bit of both. The one caveat is that you're only having to do 1 prep or 2 preps versus K4 that has 4 preps. Okay. So that was a long explanation for just to say, yes, you will be doing some videoing. Asynchronous or synchronous learning will be taking place with students at home, meaning synchronous, meaning going on at the same time, or asynchronous where you video and then they can look at it at a different time. My goal is that you're going to be overwhelmed and stressed already. And my goal is to kind of provide you an avenue to alleviate some of that stress. But we'll talk a little bit more as the weeks go on, but that will be something that the grade level K through 4 will need to discuss and decide. Okay. Does that kind of help that a little bit? So Ms. Davis said, if a teacher is teaching track A students, does that mean that when they are on virtual week, the teacher will also be at home? No. The staff member will still be at school. They just will not have physical students in their physical classroom. They'll be recording, making phone calls, communicating, things like that. And we can go into a little bit more about what the expectations would be. That's just something that I was a little hesitant about throwing that out there right now, but it's a good question that came up, so I wanted to kind of hit on that then and there. Okay. Like I said, my goal is to make your job a little less stressful. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do a good job at that, but that is my ultimate goal, is to kind of alleviate the stress, because if you remember back in May, I said rest up over the summertime because we've got a big mountain to climb ahead of us. Okay. And this is just me being transparent with you all. All right, so this slide right here is very similar to this slide. It's just showing the continuum of support. Does anybody have any questions as far as this continuum of support? That's just an explanation for our families to see, okay, if I want the high amount of support from teachers of the school, this is the option if I'm looking at moderate or versus low. Ms. Brinkley said, so would we still have our students in class or virtual? And those that choose independent learning are individual teacher responsibilities. So as far as the independent, since they're looking at self-paced modules with Edgenuity or Accelerate, what we would more than likely do, either the district, we'll probably do in-house, is there will be a separate person that will be assigned, and this is where we're all going to have to be kind of flexible with our job descriptions coming up, but there will probably be somebody that will be assigned to all the independent learners. So therefore, the teachers are not having to do that as much. So that will kind of be one thing that will kind of take off your plate. Of course, that doesn't mean that you're still welcome to reach out to them and talk to them and help them out if they need it. Does that answer your question, Ms. Brinkley? Okay. If not, let me know. So like I said, my ultimate goal is to give this responsibility of the independent learning to somebody, because these two things right here will be a lot, and this will be right here will be a lot for teachers to kind of take on. So looking at some other staff members kind of taking on this independent online learning piece, just to kind of help monitor and make sure that kids are doing things. All right, this slide right here was just talking about Plan A, so that's not necessarily need something to look at. Plan B, once again, that's kind of self-explanatory. Like Dr. Lassiter said, the county will be coming out with a calendar that will clearly define when is week A, when is week B. Just want to hit on this point again that when Learning Zone A is in school that first week, they of course in school and learning, but week 2, they're at home, but they're still learning. So that's why it would be nice in a perfect world to say, hey, one teacher has Learning Zone A, so they can worry about the face-to-face, and then the next week they can just follow up and make sure their students are working at home instead of trying to teach and follow up with the students at home at the same time. All right, so we talked about this. I won't get into too much of the details, but we will be, like I said at the beginning, nothing will be the same. So our arrival and dismissal to school, there will definitely look different. Last year, we only had 2 entrance points, one at the front for car riders, one on the side for bus riders. We are going to be looking at 3 entrance points for car riders, one for K2, one for 3-5, one for 6-8, and then a bus rider entrance still. But we'll get into a little bit more about that as well. Of course, we have identified, like I said, an isolation room, which will be the old STEM lab, which was ISS this past year. So that will be an isolation. So we're trying to keep in mind the social distancing and keep everybody's health at the forefront. All right, so we're not going to get too much about, this is just a sample elementary. I will kind of go ahead and give you these things to kind of think about. Don't worry about what's in between here. But all, and when I say all, I mean every elementary school and K-8 school in the county will be starting at 7:30. That is a shift that we are doing in our county this year. All true traditional middle schools and high schools will be starting, let's see, they'll be starting at 8 with their office hours and starting instruction at 9. So that's something. So the 7:30 to 8 o'clock will be something that will have bus unloading, car rider drop off, temperature checks, those type of things. Our instruction will start at 8 o'clock, and then students will be getting out at 1:30. And then 1:30 to 3 will be time for teachers to plan, PLC, those type of things. So you are looking at the schedule being shortened. It wouldn't be the typical 7.5 hours a day. So you're looking at about 5.5. We're not going to go too much into the work day because I have already kind of drafted a master schedule, but that's too overwhelming to look at right now. And that will be next week's one of the tasks that we look at next week, okay? But that is something I want you to start thinking about. 7:30 to 8 o'clock is student drop-off, temperature checks, dismissing at 1:30, and then the teacher workday ending at 3. I would love to be able to get y'all all out of here by 3 o'clock every day, okay? No, y'all all would not complain about that either. All right, so this is just a sample middle school schedule, high school schedule, which we don't have to worry about as much. Just kind of hit on some few things here. The required instructional hours, and don't worry about taking notes. I've all this already outlined for you already, so you don't have to worry about taking these notes. So elementary school, language arts is 90, math is 75, science and social studies is 75. Middle school, it would be somewhere between 60 to 75 minutes per core area, okay? Plan C, we're not going to worry about right now. That's just kind of reiterating this point. So you saw Dr. Lasser talk about we will be one-to-one. Want to make sure that everybody knows that what the county did was they looked at schools and what technology they already have on hand, and then they just supplemented that to get us to want to be one-to-one. So we will have Chromebooks. We will have iPads for K2 students. They'll take those home, bring them back. I know there's some concerns with that as well, so we're going to hold off on that, but that will be the expectation. And then this just was the registration form. So any questions? And like I said, I have very, very briefly gone over the learning options, and that's intentional because once we get too much into the thick of things, we start into a whole nother meeting that needs to happen. So are there any questions about these areas that I went over with you? I know there are probably lots of questions and we're probably all just scared to ask them right now. And that's perfectly fine. Like I said, you're going to have lots of questions. I am trying to do as much before so that we can kind of have these things answered. When will we meet to decide about the teaching situation? Not 100% sure right now, Ms. Davis. I kind of want to see how our numbers with the registration form, how that kind of shake out. Because what we'll need to do next is look at each grade level, see how many students are coming face to face, and then I can be able to say, okay, this could be an option for third grade, or this may not be an option for third grade. As you saw, Monday, this upcoming Monday will be the time, that deadline for all of our families. So we're working hard to get as many to answer. When will we have an open house? So on the school calendar, there is an open house identified on the Thursday, which I believe is the 13th. Yes, the 13th. Our open house will not be the typical open house. We have, I was talking with Ms. Mayberry and Ms. Stanley yesterday. We're talking about having some different options for our families for open house. So you're talking about either maybe having a drive-through open house, but I'll detail all that information for y'all. There will be some requirements that y'all have to do, but just make sure that we have something for our families, a drive-through, and then some virtual options for our families for open house as well. Ms. Williams asked, how does support personnel fit into this? So as far as remediation teachers are concerned, that would be a personal conversation I want to have with each and every one of y'all. We're very fortunate to have 3 remediation teachers here. I want to be able to have those personal conversations to kind of feel what your comfort level is. I think that's very important, not only with remediation teachers, but all of you. That's why I sent that survey out this past week, or earlier this week. So we'll need to have a one-to-one conversation to kind of see what do you feel comfortable with. We always have to keep in mind how positions are paid for, and a lot of our money is coming from Title I, which is federal dollars, so we got to follow federal our requirements at the same time? Good questions. Any others? All right. So I'm just going to keep us reminded of this at all times. Pac-12 is strong. Like I said, it's going to be definitely different. Um, but I have your back. I hope you have our back. And together we will do the best that we can. Okay. So I want to throw these out here, and don't worry too much about taking notes. As you can see right here, it says all finalized plans will be emailed out to staff. One thing I am very aware of is educators, we are all very anxious and have a lot of anxiety in a normal beginning of school year. And you add on what we're having to deal with now, the anxiety has just crept up tenfold. So I'm very, very aware of that. So I want to be able to give y'all enough opportunities to feel comfortable. So as you can see up here, I've kind of drafted a tentative plan, and I want you just to be aware of these things because I don't want you to think, if you look on the school calendar, there's only 4 work days, and I want you to know that I'm going to give you more. Our custodial staff are going to finish up this week on the floors, so we'll be able to get throughout the school without any problems. But what I'm looking at is on August the 3rd, which is a Monday, is having a new employee orientation at Pactolis or either Zoom if somebody's doing something. Now keep in mind, August 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and the 10th are not required days. So I don't want you to feel like you have to. I'm just trying to provide you these opportunities because it has been a while since a lot of you have been in your classrooms. We have a lot of new faces to Pactolis, and there's the anxiety of just what does the classroom look like? How do I set up and go forward with that? So I want to provide you enough opportunity to get in your classroom and help out with your stress as much as possible. So at 9:30, this is, like I said, tentative, but having a new employee orientation just for the new staff members at Pactolis. I want to provide y'all that intimate setting so that you can ask questions. We can provide you some documents and kind of go through everything. Then at 1 o'clock, an orientation for all staff members. I'm not sure if it will be orientation related to COVID or if it will be related to curriculum instruction. Not really sure exactly what the topics will be quite yet. But of course, if you can't make it, there will be a Zoom going on at the same time and be recorded. August 4th, 5th, and 6th, we're going to allow staff members to enter in the classrooms, kind of get things settled. There will be BT and orientate or new employee orientation for the district during these days. Hopefully you got that from the district. If not, just let me know. August the 7th, which is a Friday, the school will be closed. We'll still be on summer hours, so the school and the air will be off. I will say August 3rd through the 6th, wear light clothing because I can't promise that the air conditioning will be on. We'll at least have it in the area that we're going to have the orientation in. They start looking at me crazy if we start asking for the whole school to be turned on. August 10th, once again, providing another orientation. Not sure exactly what the topics is, but once again, I just want to chunk the information. I don't want to overwhelm you all by giving you all the stuff at one time because you'll give me your resignation letter by the end of the orientation meeting, and I do not want that. So I'm just trying to provide that chunks of information so that you can digest, reflect on it, come up with your own personal plan, and then go forward with that. And then, of course, August the 11th through the 14th, these are teacher work days. There may be some required that we may still have some meetings. I will try to limit the amount of meetings that we have. But there will maybe some district trainings during that time. As far as classified staff, we have not received information on what days will be required, if all of them will be required, or any of them will be required. So we don't have that information quite yet. But these are just tentative plans to kind of just pencil in on your calendar. Now, I will say August 4th, 5th, and 6th, I had left those time for y'all to be in your classrooms because that would be the time that Miss Mayberry and myself and the ICs would be at admin retreat. Admin retreat has been canceled, so I may be able to move this August 10th orientation somewhere up here, but like I said, once I have finalized plans, I'll let you know. Any questions about the tentative start of the year? Trying to do this to help put your mind at ease. Okay. All right, so let me go back. Yes, so at that time, I'm going to get to that in just a moment, maybe pertaining to another area, Miss Pilgrim. But kids would not be allowed at that time in the building. But I will talk about another option that we're looking at here at the school as far as once the school year goes, okay? So as far as face masks, like I said, the state is providing everyone with 5 face masks per staff member. You all by now, I know, have purchased your own face mask and you have found one that is comfortable and whatnot. But I have been talking with a vendor in Raleigh that he has created these face masks for us. Now, if y'all remember back in June, when our high school graduates in Pitt County graduated, they had face masks that were provided for them. This is the same vendor. So the same vendor that provided face masks for our high school graduates in the spring, he's the one that designed this for us. As you can see, it's pretty neat. You don't have a big pirate plastered in the front of your face on your mouth. But we are taking orders now. If you would just fill this out. To give you an idea, if we get 100 or more requests, they are $7.50 each. If we get less than 100, then they're $10 each. You can give all your money to Miss Strong or checks, or you may write a check to Pat Tolis and give that to Miss Strong as well. So just name how many you would like. You don't have to. Just thought it would be an opportunity for anyone. If you would just put your orders in by July 27th. Not sure if we'll have them by the first day of school, because I'm sure he's swamped with trying to do all of it, but you will be able to get it hopefully shortly after that. All right, questions? Yes. So what I'm going to do, good question, Mr. Phillips. What I'm going to do is after this meeting, I'm going to send all of these links to y'all in an email. And I'll show you how you can also access this a little bit later too. Okay. So I'll send this all out to y'all so that you can do it. All right. So one thing that I want us to very briefly look at today, don't worry about taking a picture of this or trying to copy this down because I'm going to send it in an email too. But what I have created for us this upcoming school year is a Pactolis staff website. Now this website is just for staff members. If y'all remember back when we went out of school in March, I had a running document, and it was a very long document. It was hard to find. You know, you just had to keep up with everything and feel and see where things were highlighted that were updated. So in order to adapt to ever-changing times, we have come up with this website, and this website will be a one-stop shop for everyone to access this. So when you get this website in your email, go ahead and click on it. Click on this little star up here or whatever you're using, Firefox. Go ahead and save it to your bookmarks. Have it one of the first couple of things that you have so that you can have it at all times here. Okay, so this is just the home page here, just talking about some things to consider. Some lovely pictures through the years of our wonderful, wonderful students that we miss so much. Staff, you can see here. For all of our newbies, you have already been Facebook stalked, I'm sure, plenty times by our current staff members, but we do have pictures of everybody up here. Now, I apologize. If you do not like your picture, please let me know, and I will be more than glad to change it for you. But you can see all of our staff members. I thought this would be beneficial, especially for our new people and our current people as well, to start learning names and faces with people. So as you can see here, here are Miss Dubis, like I said earlier, one of our new instructional coaches and our global school coordinator. Miss Hassel, Miss Garcia, here is our pre-K teacher. Our kindergarten, and the TAs, our first grade, and Miss Cotton is their TA. Our second grade, our third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade with Miss Laser and Miss Woodle, our sixth grade, our seventh grade with Mr. Phillips and Miss Buterball, eighth grade, our EC, gotta get a picture for Miss Powers, our wonderful encore, our care teachers, our SLP, our school psychologists, our ESL, Miss Neese, our remediation teachers, Miss Lee Bryan, our social worker, and Nurse Mooney. And we haven't put her on contract yet, but we do have a new community liaison translator, Miss Tebow. She will also have a child here at school in fifth grade. Then our custodial staff, along with Miss Jackson. I failed to mention her, but she was hired while we were all out. So it was hard to introduce her, but Miss Jackson was hired and part of our custodial staff. Our wonderful child nutrition. And the man with the plan, Deputy Jackson, our SRO. All right, so that you can just kind of get to know some people, learn some faces, all those good things. Pirate Press, I will go in a little bit more detail about that later on, but I will have it here for us. This will be an example of what our new Pirate Press will look like. So every Sunday I send out a memo to everybody to kind of let them know what's going on that week. So you can kind of see what the new Pirate Press will look like. But I will also have it linked in here for you every week so that if you delete your email or can't find it, you can just go in here and click on it. Now, some of this stuff is not quite ready yet. So the start of the school requirements, we'll have our agenda in here. That's not ready, but we'll have our curriculum instruction and assessment meetings in here. NESIS, our staff evaluation PD will be in here. All that good stuff there. We'll have all of our remote learning expectations, Seesaw for K2, Canvas 3.8, Zoom expectations. If y'all have not looked at these two documents, the Public Health Toolkit and Lighting Our Way Forward, I know it's not the best thing to read sometimes, but this is a good thing, and it's kind of driving me on how to plan appropriately for everyone. Staff and student handbooks, for everyone that is new, you know that, or everybody that is new, I want you to know that we live and breathe the handbook here. It is our Bible here at school. So we are not going to be creating handbooks to give out to everybody because everything will be up here on this website. So you'll just have to make sure that you have access to this. So this staff handbook, student handbook. I am working on creating an addendum to our handbook that is COVID-19 related because a lot of this stuff is just not applicable, okay? Calendar. We'll have our staff calendar. So once you start going through, you can see the different events along with the Pitt County Schools calendar. Meetings. So we're going to have all of our school improvement agendas linked in here that will be completed every month. Our staff meeting agendas will be in here so you can access them at any time. And this is what I want to highlight. So I'm going to have the running list of all of our Zoom meetings in here as well. So today's slides are already in here. And I will put the recording in here. Whenever we have these meetings like this, this will be where you can access them, okay? Instead of me having to send it out to everybody every time. Schedules, duty, and assignments. Y'all can go ahead and take a look at this master schedule that I have created for the upcoming year, but I'm going to zoom right on past that for right now. You may go ahead and look at it on your own time, but that is there. That will be up for discussion, so don't feel like anything is set in stone. You can hit the tabs down here and see the different options down there. But like I said, I'm going to zoom on by at this time. Ms. Mayberry will have her stuff up here, especially pertaining to buses, since we'll have to know which students are on which track. The instructional coaches will have their page where they will have all of their information about our collective commitments, mission statement, the data collection form, flow chart to following data. And for all of those of us that are renewing this year, what credits are required for licensure renewal. Ms. Raphael is working on something for y'all as far as what is expected and how the media center and library will look different this year. School counselor, Ms. Cobb and Ms. Lee Bryan, they have some stuff up here. School counselor referral form for those families that you feel need some attention. I do have committees up here. So our committees are PBIS, MTSS, Global, and Hospitality. What I try to do every year is give everybody a role. So some of y'all were magically placed in some roles because having known you or either been able to talk with you, you bring, I think, a unique set of skills to Pactolus. So I have put you in a certain role so you can go explore what those roles are later on. Academic policies and procedures. Not sure, if we'll have a walkthrough form this year or not. Parent communication. We won't do field trips this year, but this is a website that I would like to continue in the future. So I've got this stuff up in here: video recording permission, medication policy, school resource officer requirements. As always, we begin with the end in mind. So we're already looking at June for next year. This stuff has to be updated, but you can see that I have the requirements for checkouts for teachers. And then I have linked in here the Pitt County Schools Road to Reopening. When you click on this, it takes you exactly to Pitt County Schools webpage for Road to Reopening. So that's a lot, I know. I'm going to send this website out to y'all to go ahead and start exploring. I'll be updating it all along, but I'm going forth from now into the time we start. We're going to be very transparent. So I'll put things up here and I'll ask you to go ahead and start reviewing it and looking at it and so that you can be ready to discuss it at our next meeting. Okay? So any questions as far as the website? All right, moving right along. So I sent this out to y'all earlier this week. This is just your comfort level with returning to work. I will say this: even though you click, or even though you may click, yes, I am a part of this. That will help me out, but I can't promise that it will. I can't promise what it will all work out. Okay, I know that's not the best way of saying it, but there is something. If you click this, that just helps me to know exactly where I need to go going forward. Okay, and then I can have a private conversation with you. All right, teacher childcare. I want to talk about this very briefly. So one of the questions or concerns that we've had as principals is, as educators, we have children ranging from different ages. I just want to throw this out here, and then I'll follow up with everyone later on. We are looking at providing childcare for school-age students for staff members here at Pactolus. Not really sure exactly what that would look like. Yesterday we talked, it was discussed that say Miss Mayo, I'm just going to use your children for example. Hopefully you don't mind, but Miss Mayo's children go to GR Whitfield. Of course, being on 1 week or off 1 week, what do you do with them off 1 week? It was discussed yesterday that GR Whitfield would provide childcare for their students, but I think also there's going to be some situations that maybe our teachers want their child with them here at Pactolus. So there is something we are going to be exploring, is providing childcare for school age students. It's not something that you have to take part in, but once again, I'm trying to alleviate as much stress from you as possible. And childcare is, of course, a stress of what are you going to do with your child if they're on an off week. So we will be exploring some options here at school so that you can possibly bring them with you. I know your child's current school they're enrolled in, they're looking at options too. So it may be that you want them to continue on at their school. I will be able to give you a little bit more clarity once we decide something, and then I'll follow up with you on kind of what your needs are and what do you want. Okay, so that's just something there. So like I said, save the date for next Thursday. I'm going to do it on Thursday. That will give me a time to have all these meetings take place for the district. So next Thursday at 9:30 will be our next Zoom meeting. We'll discuss the next set of information, a chunk of information. Will be recorded for those that can't make it. I know we're all at different points right now on vacation, so don't feel like you have to. It's just, once again, I'm trying to provide the support for you. And all I'm asking is, if you would just please be flexible. It is nothing for me to get an invite to a meeting an hour before it starts, and I need to be there. So if you would just be very flexible and understanding of that, if I have to change that. Okay. All right. So I stayed on schedule, or right at an hour and a half, which is where I wanted to fall into. So as far as all of the things that we've covered today, are there any questions? Or are we all in shock right now? All right, so will PCS have after school? So there is, Miss Pilgrim, right now for most of, not everybody knows this, but there is summer school going on right now. Probably 5th through 8th grade teachers probably didn't realize that, and some support staff. But it's a jump start program going on right now. That it was money given to us by the state that we had to spend a little bit of money now and a little bit of money in the fall. There will be an after school program, hopefully, but it will be targeted to, don't quote me on this, but it's either 3rd or 4th grade, or maybe both. So that's kind of limited there. As far as community schools and rec in Pitt County, I don't know if they've necessarily come up with a decision yet. If so, it hasn't been communicated to us. But that once I have something, I know something a little bit more, I can let you all be aware of that. What my goal is, and I'm not really sure. I've sat down and looked at the schedule for the most part. What I would love to have is all of our staff meetings, PLCs, all those kind of things take place from that 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock range, so that by 3 o'clock y'all can all be out of here, because at some point in time I'm going to have to kick y'all out so that custodial staff can thoroughly clean the building every day. All right, any other questions? The only thing I ask of everybody is please, please, please reach out to me. Some of y'all have been texting me, emailing me, asking questions, and that is perfectly fine. Please do that. I want to hear from y'all. I don't want to bother y'all, but I want to hear from y'all. So don't feel like you're bothering me. I need to know these things going into a new school year. There's definitely some uncertainty and that provides a lot of anxiety for us. That helps me with planning things. But just feel free to reach out to me. You're not bothering me. I respond to emails pretty quickly. But if not, it's just because I'm thinking about an answer. Ms. Patterson said, so we may come to school starting August 3rd. I will send out finalized plans, but if you would pencil that into your calendar. But yes, that is kind of where I am trying to shoot for. That would give y'all a good 2 weeks of being able to get into the building before school starts. So what I'm going to do, like I said earlier, I will send out a follow-up email with all these links. Send all the links to y'all in an email. And probably what I'll do next week is send another email out to everybody and say, hey, these are some things that we're going to be talking about, discussing. Go ahead and look at the master schedule on the school website, things like that. So I'll kind of give you a little bit more guidance of what our next one will include, because what I want y'all to do going forward is do your research and look at the things that we have prepared, because I need all eyes and all hands on deck to really discuss things and talk about things. Some schools are looking at doing it with their school leadership team, but I think everybody has an important voice in this right now. So that's why I want to have this open up to everyone. Okay. Well, if if there are no other questions, Ms. Patterson, I will try to follow up and figure out a little bit more about the shield versus the mask. And once I have that information, I'll let y'all know. At this point in time, if you don't have anything, you are free to go. I hope you all have a nice rest of your Wednesday, a nice weekend. It is very hot outside, so enjoy as much as you can, or either the air conditioned too. Thank y'all very much.